This is very exciting to have all of you online with my teacher, Dr. Caroline Fuqua. We famously call her Isis. And it's very exciting for me to be on the webinar, leading a webinar with her, and secretly, I get to have another lesson at the same time. So it's really great. Welcome, Isis.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, Dr. Blanchard. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm excited.
So, Isis, I know a lot of people think about grace as something given to them.
Right. And it is really, really important. All of your miraculous incidents have to do with your consciousness. It has nothing to do with something being given. In other words, you were not singled out to be saved, or you were not singled out to be blessed. There are 7 billion people on the planet. It wouldn't be fair for a couple of people, or for even several people, to be blessed and saved in that way. In order for you to be in a state of grace, you have to be in a state of grace. So you have to, we're going to look at grace on the pole in the law of polarity. And we're going to say that people who are graced are going to be standing on the left side of the pole, and people who are not are going to be standing on the right side of the pole. We're going to say that grace is a consistent position. It's not arbitrary. It's not selective, where, you know, Joe is graced and Ray is graced and Paul is graced, but Sam and Mary and Joe are not. And I'm saying that wouldn't be fair, that wouldn't be lawful, and it wouldn't be God. I'm saying that in order for you to be where grace is, your consciousness has to put you there. And so it is like you mentioned, seek thee first the kingdom and all things will be added. Well, that kingdom is the left end of the pole where those sort of things, those kinds of things happen. But you have to, and when they say seek, they don't mean look for, they mean turn toward. So when you are being graced or blessed like that, it is not because you're singled out for special dispensation. It is because you have moved yourself where that's all that can happen. It is a position, just like we say kingdom is a position and hell is a position, but they are states of consciousness. They are not, you know, he's going to hell and he's going to be graced or he's going to be blessed. No. If you are graced or blessed, it is because your consciousness vibrates to the frequency of that activity. And if you are in a hellish suffering position, it is not because you've been singled out to suffer. Your vibration is meeting that frequency. So there is a frequency where really wonderful things happen, and a frequency where things are in breakdown. But these are locked positions. And you are the only one that can move. It's like a long hallway with 2 rooms on either end. You're standing in the middle. You can then move to the position where there's nothing but grace, or you can move to the position where there's nothing but hell. But it is not given to you. You have to go either position. So when it's working, it's because you're standing where things just do work. When it's not working, you're standing where things cannot work, just cannot. But yeah. It's all up to you and your consciousness. And you mentioned all these other things like giving and gratitude or thankfulness. These things are attitudes that put you in a state of grace. Let me just mention one more thing. I want to mention the prodigal son, because that's not very well understood as well. So the prodigal son is blessed because the state of grace is always there. And no matter how far he goes or how long he stays, he can always come home to the place where everything is light and everything is warm and everything is love. That is what we call grace. The fact that that is always there, that position called grace is always there, and all you have to do ever to experience it is to move into it, using attitudes that will raise your vibration to that frequency.
Yeah, that's what I want you to talk more about. How do people move to that room on the left?
Yeah, it's all about how you are being, how you're thinking, how you are moving in your life. In other words, there are things that take you up and there are things that take you down. But being in a state of gratitude, a constant state of gratitude, not when things are going your way, not when your agenda is being met or your circumstances are flourishing, but being in a state of gratitude is one of the attitudes that will keep you in a state of grace. So being in a state of gratitude then is a continual, unconditional state of being where it doesn't matter what's going on, your circumstances, or on the planet, or in that day, you are locked down in a position of thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Not thank you because I just got my hair done and it didn't rain. No, not that. Not that. A constant, unconditioned state of gratitude where you just have sense enough to know that you are to be grateful for life itself and not for the particulars.
It's a virtuous state of being.
That's a state of being, just like love
a
is
state of for something. Like, that's one of the things I wanted to distinguish, is that a lot of people see gratitude as I'm grateful for something.
Can't do it.
But it's not a for anything.
Because that puts it in a conditioned state, and gratitude cannot be conditional. And anytime you say for or because or so that, you then have conditioned it. You have actually made a situation where in order for you to be grateful, it has to go your way. And that is not the way gratitude.
Yeah, see, people think of it as being favored, a favor.
Absolutely.
Like, I was favored, so I'm grateful for this. A grace, I'm in grace because I was either blessed or I'm lucky or I did something right, and therefore I'm in grace. But it has nothing to do with these conditions and incidents or activities that you do, or as a good person, as a good anything. So it has nothing to do with I'm a good person or not a good person.
That's right. And you cannot, because you know good and well that it is not conditional. It is not conditional. What kind of game would this be if you were just randomly blessed or cursed? If you were just randomly, no matter what you do, you're cursed. No matter what you do, Joe is always blessed. No, if Joe is always blessed, Joe is always standing where blessings are available. If Mary is always cursed and Mary is standing where, that's what goes on. But it's not random, it's not selective, and it's not favored.
Yeah. Well, that's really profound because a lot of people don't see it that way. They're not educated to that.
Right.
And they don't see it that way. Now, when you see a Joe or Mary who seem to always have things working for them.
That means that they're standing where things work.
Yeah, and they're in a vibrational state.
That's right.
Where things are workable in that way.
I want to mention something scientific here, because we now know that scientifically, verifiably, you can't get sick if your vibration is high enough. So in other words, you can't be in breakdown if your vibration is in 50 pulses per second or higher. So this is where the ancients got the notion of heaven and hell, was from the frequency where things work or the frequency where things break down. So the frequency 50 down, things break down. And so now science is in on this. They know now that you cannot be sick if your vibration is high enough. Well, the old folks used to say, my resistance was low, and I got sick. So that they were in on something there. They knew something there. But now we can scientifically prove that if you can keep a high vibration, sickness is not a part of the frequency of light.
Yeah, and they can actually measure that these days. They can actually tell your vibrational field. So the ancients knew a lot about these laws, and one of the key laws is the law of vibration. So they knew that, and they knew how to increase their vibration. And maybe there are some people who are, without them consciously knowing it, are vibrating on a higher level than others and lower level than others. But there are ways that the ancients and the mystics and the alchemists were able to consciously change their vibration.
And that's just by staying in states of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
Love, praise, and gratitude. Love, praise, and gratitude are three attitudes that will keep you in a high vibration. So then what does that mean? To be thankful, to be in a state of gratitude no matter what the conditions are. To love, no understanding that everything is divine. Everything that was created out of the divine mind. So that everything is divine. If you can keep focused on not behavior, not on the doing, but on the being. If you can stay steadfast in the notion of being is all divine. So now you're going to then, whatever happens, you're going to stay in a state that will vibrate in that high frequency. But if you get disappointed every time things don't go your way, you cannot be in a state of gratitude because you're in a state of disappointment, frustration, judgment. And every time that you're in one of those states, and I don't care what it is you're judging or frustrated about or angry about, you're going to move into a vibration of breakdown. So the idea is to be with every single thing that happens in that same state of it's still working, even if it's not working the way I want it to. It's still working, and I'm still thankful that it's always working, no matter whether it's working for me or not.
Well, you know, a lot of people go into this whole business of trying to control things, like wanting to have it my way if it's working my way, and trying to control things. That's probably in their way because that's not being in a state of gratitude
or
love.
It's working. Everything is working. If you could keep your mind on that, everything is working. Thank you. Everything is working. And I don't mean when it's working for me.
Yeah, working for me. That's the part where people get out. Working for me, working my way.
That's right.
And then I try to end up trying to control it to work my way.
That's right.
And that's not even a possibility.
It's not a possibility.
Not even a possibility.
You have to look at things like the sun comes up every morning, whether I can see it or not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We have to look at the fact that a bone is mended in 6 weeks, and all I have to do is keep it still. In other words, everything is working. Everything is growing. Everything is moving. Everything is expanding and contracting according to the game. Now, when I look at my specific circumstances, and I needed some money and I didn't get it, so I'm angry. I've moved myself because of my circumstances, I've moved out of a state of everything's working, and I say it's not working. Everything is still working, but
it's working.
Not working for me. I put myself in a place where things don't work.
Yeah, but it's working nevertheless. Everything is still working nevertheless. Now, can you talk about mindfulness as a way of vibrating, increasing your vibration? I think some people think about mindfulness. Some people are very erudite about mindfulness in meditating and noticing, being aware, being conscious. Other people think about mindfulness as I'm going to be mindful of something.
Yeah, exactly. But then we go into conditions again.
And then
These states that we are speaking about are unconditional states. So I have to be mindful. If I'm going to be mindful at all, it's going to be mindful that everything is working, even when it's not working according to my plan. So now that's what I'm going to be mindful. I'm going to be mindful that everything is abundant. It's abundant of whatever I say. So if I say it's not working, then it's going to go into an abundance of not working or an abundance of breakdown. But you see what I'm saying? The mindfulness is going to be from whether I have it or not in this moment. It's still working.
So it's a lot about what we say.
That's right.
So we got to be clear about what we say and be mindful of what we say, because what we say send things into that direction.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So you're going to make sure that you say that there is always enough, because that's the truth. There may not be enough for me because I'm saying there's not enough for me, but there's always enough. If I keep mindful about the fact that there's always enough, I'm going to move into the frequency where that enough is. And when I say there's not enough, I move into a frequency where there's not enough, because my abundance has focused on not enough rather than focused on there is enough, and then allow that to be my experience.
Well, you know what's so beautiful is that our consciousness is not prejudice.
That's right.
The all is not prejudice.
That's
It's
right.
not selective.
That's right.
And it doesn't choose me over somebody else or you over somebody else. It gives us all the same. It's an equal opportunity. It's a level playing field. And it's a matter of where are we coming from, where are we operating from, and what are we mindful of.
That's the notion of mastery. Mastery. To be mindful about your words, to be mindful about your thoughts, to be mindful about your actions. In other words, there are high vibrating words, thoughts, and actions, and there are low vibrating words, thoughts, and actions. The high vibrating will throw you to the end of the pole where things work, where there's nothing but grace. The low vibrating energies, negative energies, will throw you into the emptiness where things break down. So to be mindful, where are you standing? What are you thinking about all day?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
So, mindful, loving, the highest vibration, love, gratitude, and peace, and low vibrations like worry, doubt, fear, judgment,
frustration, anger, because things don't go your way. In other words, there's 7 billion people on the planet. A lot of those people are having things go their way. You understand? So what is the formula? Why do some people have it? And we got to get away from the notion of being blessed or lucky, because there's nothing but law. And when someone is standing where if there is abundance, it's not luck. It is where they're standing based on what they're thinking, saying, and being, or being, thinking, and saying. Mm-hmm. And so that's what we have to be mindful of, is where and how we're using the power of our thoughts and words. And it's not about positivity. It's not about positive speaking. It's not. It's in your heart. Do you realize that things are working, that the grass is growing, the sun is rising, the moon is waxing and waning? If you can stay completely wrapped in the fact that the only thing that's not working a lot of times is what you're going through. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
And your mind, and your thoughts, your mind.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And all you have to do to reverse that is to say and to know deep in your soul that things are working, even when you won't let them work for you.
Now, Aziz, you take a lot of people to, the ancient sites,
right,
every year, several times a year,
right,
to Egypt in particular. Mm-hmm. I know that's one of your places that you take people a lot,
right,
and studying the pyramids.
Right.
Just in case people would love to go with you who are listening to this, what I know this is all of what you teach, or what you're teaching right now: mindfulness, grace, gratitude, love, vibrating, and there are laws, laws that interrelate, interact. Starting with the first premise and principle that all is mind.
That's right. So based on the fact that all is mind, you are determining what you have by what you think. And if you can learn to think as the abundance and as the divine, as the affluence, abundance, this divinity has nothing to do with how much money you have in the bank or what your circumstances are. They have to do with your being. If we can focus on the being, then we can stay on the pole, end of the pole, where things are working. When you're on the end of the pole where things are working, you then stay in a state of gratitude automatically. You stay in a state of grace automatically. You stay in a state of love automatically, because you're not having the thoughts that can take you out of these positions.
Yes. Now, all of these laws have been known for thousands of years.
50,000 to be exact. 50,000 that we know about with the emerald tablets.
And you're taking people to Egypt to where these are also represented. Well, people can
On the temple walls, yes, right.
Walls. And this is knowledge that has been with us for all these years.
That's right.
And, you know, I would love to have everybody go and witness that, me included. And, you know, we teach these transformational trainings. And I would say that regardless of what people think they came there for in the trainings, love is what they really came there for.
That's right.
And I think that's what emanates in the space, in the room, when people get further along in the training, because I think people come into the training thinking that they're going to work on their doubt, they're going to work on their anger, they're going to work on their issues, their circumstances. But in reality, they can't work on those things, because working on those things would take them more into those things.
That's right.
And I think, I don't know, some people come about that earlier in the training and some a little later in the training, and maybe a few of them still choose to hang on to that and think that we haven't fixed them. And so they're waiting for us to fix them about that and work on that. But I think as people stay with what we're doing in the training, in so many ways, we're bringing people to the realization that everything is whole, perfect, and complete. We're bringing people to the awareness that if you focus on the I have to and all the negatives, you generate more of that.
That's right.
Focus on more of the get to and the abundance and the wonder of life and this wonder of spirit, then you start to vibrate more in that direction. And over time in the training, I think the group consciousness becomes apparent, and it becomes apparent that this is all there is, really. And everything else is just a matter of our thinking it so. And the training really...
Something different. 7 billion people thinking something different and having different experiences. And instead of, if we could all join the one mind in realizing, you know, that everything is whole, perfect, and complete. Like you said, if we could stay on that and stay mindful to that, things would transform to match that.
Yes, things would transform. And that's what I wanted you to speak a little bit about, transformation, transforming, because people think transforming is changing something external, changing something about their themselves, or changing something about their conditions, or changing something about their circumstances, or changing something about them having power over their circumstances and things like that. But that's really not a transformation at all.
That's right. That's right.
Transformation
when you think about
is central.
When you think about transforming, you're actually thinking about moving from one position to another position. And the positions that we have at our disposal are, as I said, the fullness or the emptiness, the light or the absence of light. That whether you're going to transform your consciousness by moving from one position to another. But remember, it's your consciousness that's being transformed, not your circumstances. Your circumstances will transform based on your transformed consciousness.
So the circumstance is really just a result. They're just results or reflections
That's
of
right.
the consciousness that you're operating out of it or operating in.
Can we use a movie screen to illuminate that? A movie screen is your life, or the movie screen is your life. And the film that's being projected is your consciousness. So you're only ever going to see on that screen a reflection of your consciousness. So we're going to transform the consciousness from empty to full, and then what's going to be projected on that film is going to transform dramatically. The circumstances will transform dramatically after the consciousness has been transformed. From lack to abundance, we have to transform the consciousness from I'm not to I am. And when we do that, what will be projected on the film, on the screen that we call our lives, will be completely different.
Yeah, because people are working on the wrong thing. People are trying to work on the screen when they can only really work on the film that's being projected onto the screen.
That's right. So they want to.
But they come into the training trying to work on the screen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that's really, really important stuff there. That's like, what am I thinking that is generating my circumstances? What am I saying that's generating my circumstances? All we'd ever have to do is be mindful about what we're thinking and what we're saying to know why we're having the results that we're having. Anybody who says, I don't have enough, I'm telling you, just based on the power of the word, if you say I don't have enough, if you got a raise that equaled $100,000, you'd still end up at the end of the day not having enough, because you cannot overpower your thoughts and your words.
Well, that's so awesome. Now, for all of the listeners, being with Dr. Aziz on an ongoing basis, being in the circles of light. In fact, you can find a way to get involved in the circles of light by going to the website, circlesoflight.net. Mm-hmm. And she will welcome anyone who is interested in elevating their consciousness, because that's her commitment, that's who she is, that's her mission in the world. And acimegypt.com, A Course in Miracles Egypt.com, acimegypt.com is her other site where you can work with this consciousness. Now, you also have a group that travel the world with you, a few awesome people that I know, Nadine and Natalie and some of the other awesome people. You take trips around the world with a group of singers who are really singers taking action, reaching souls. It's an acronym for Singers Taking Action, Reaching Souls. Tell us a little bit about your work that you do with music and taking people around the world to experience cultures and elevating their consciousness. What is the function and the purpose of that?
Okay, well, I have been singing all my life, and I mean, whether anybody's listening or not, I'm going to be singing. So I was sitting in a circle one day. Circle is how we meet. And I realized that there were so many singers in that circle that I decided to put a group together using the singers that were just sitting there with me. And we then started singing without the idea of traveling, but we noticed something happening with the people, with the audiences that we were singing with. And I heard a minister say one day that you can touch more people with one song than with 250 sermons. And so then I said, well, let's just put that to the test. And so then we started going out a little bit, and then a little bit farther, and a little bit farther, and now that singing ministry is all over the world. And indeed, we call ourselves heart surgeons, because we are opening people's hearts and allowing them to experience something that they had not previously experienced. and it's been completely outrageous. So we do travel all over the world doing our own particular brand of heart surgery, and it's working. We were on the top of a mountain in Masada in Israel, and we sang, and one Israeli lady, or Israeli descendant, she's an American, said that she realized, she was standing there crying, and she said, I realized that I came here to Israel and to this moment just to have this experience. And we've heard that a lot all over the world. So that's sinners taking action, reaching souls. Now, Ray, we have people with questions.
Yeah.
Should we take a few of these questions?
Yes. Let's see. What would be some of the questions? One of the questions I got on here is define vibration.
Yes.
Thank you, Tamra, for that question. Define vibration. Can you speak a little bit about
absolutely. Absolutely. Vibration, I'm going to use a dimmer switch to define this, because even the manufacturer of the dimmer switch knows that we're speaking of vibration. So now if you have one in your home, you can turn it all the way to one end, and you're going to get lights off. And you're going to turn it all the way to the other end, and you're going to get lights on. And what causes the absence of light is resistance. So a vibration is the amount of light that you are emanating. So in the light, in full light, you cannot get sick. You cannot be poor. You cannot be broken in any way if the light of your consciousness is full on. Now, you cannot have money if you don't choose to deal with money, but you cannot be poor. You know, it's a frequency. Let's just say if you're going to measure it, 360 would be 12 o'clock. That's light full on. And then start going backwards from 360, and every time you take a degree, you're resisting the full light until you get all the way to dark. And things just do break down in the dark. It's like light itself. If you took a plant and you took it out of the light, the plant would have to die, because you need light in order to vibrate to the frequency of life. So vibration is just a measurable instrument that tells you whether how much light you're allowing to come into your consciousness.
Okay, I got another question here.
Now, let me just say one more thing about that.
Yes.
As I said before, the ancients used a circle, and then they would put a line across the middle of the circle. Everything above the line would be considered heaven, and everything below the line would be considered hell. And that was simply to say that if you can stand in the kingdom of heaven, or you could stand in the light, you would be blessed with certain things that you would not be able to experience if you went down below the line or experienced the breakdown that they called hell. Okay, thank you.
A great question. Thank you, Tamara, for that. Then I have another question, which is probably very related to that, is polarity. How does polarity work?
Let's speak about that, because these are very, very similar. Polarity, remember, the word pole, if you just take a broomstick and you hold it up, and then you imagine that the part of the broom that has the bristles on it is high vibrating, and the end that has none is low vibrating. So the law of polarity says that if you want something, you've got to go to the high vibrating end, which is the same as the law of vibration. It simply says that if you want something, you've got to go where there's a frequency, a vibration of light. So the law of polarity is very similar to the law of vibration. You take a pole and split it down the middle, just like I said, take your circle and split that down the middle. From the middle to the left end, you're going to have degrees or frequencies of light till you got full-on light. And from the middle to the right end, you're going to have degrees till you have lights completely off. So if you want something, you're going to have to go where something is, because on the left end of the pole, where everything is vibrating rapidly and in light, in full light, you're going to have what we call everything. And then the other end, you're going to have what we call nothing. So if you want something, then you're going to have to go. The ancients used to say, if you want something, you have to go where something is. Seek thee first the kingdom of heaven, and all things will be added, was just their way of saying stay on the left end of the pole where the vibration is absolutely light-filled. So
yeah, and I think I got some other questions here, but while you're on this one, like light is not an absolute and darkness is not an absolute. There are actually variations of the same pole.
That's why I asked you to use a dimmer switch, because the dimmer switch most accurately describes it in the physical phenomenon. A dimmer switch. One end is light all the way on, and one end is light all the way off. And in the physical, because you're absolutely right, in the physics or chemistry way, there's no end. The light moves, but it's like day and night.
Mm-hmm.
The sun rises at a certain point,
Mm-hmm.
and the sun sets at a certain point. It is high noon at a certain point, and it is midnight at a certain point. So when it's high noon, we're going to consider that the very end or the very height of the kingdom, of the law of polarity. And when it's midnight, that is the opposite end. So light completely off or light completely on. That's just, now remember, we're only dealing in physical phenomenon, because when we start dealing in spirit, there is no such thing as this. But now we're going to use the dimmer switch, we're going to use the clock, we're going to use one single day, high noon, 12 o'clock is lights all the way off where there's no shadow, and midnight lights all the way off where there's no light. Okay, that's just, now remember, just stay with me here, because these are metaphors, these are symbols. And when you try to go abstract, you're not going to be able to utilize the law that is based around something physical. All right?
I got several questions here, and we'll see if we can take maybe 2 or 3 more, because I got a bunch of them. Let me just pick the one off the top.
Mm-hmm.
How do I know what frequency I'm vibrating at?
By your results. By your results. By your results. If you're in breakdown, you're vibrating too slowly, and if you're in joy and peace and in exuberance, you're vibrating at a higher frequency. And it doesn't have it has nothing to do with what you have. It has to do with what you think is important. Is life itself important, or is your new red car important? Because if it's about your new red car and you don't get it, you're going to sink to the bottom of the vibratory field. If you can be grateful, no matter what, you're going to fly to the top of it. You're either going to be, and it's all consciousness, you're either abundant no matter what, or you're disappointed no matter what. And your feelings of abundance and gratitude, that lockdown in gratitude is going to keep you in an abundant state of consciousness, which is going to outpicture in abundance.
Yeah.
Now, not so much things, but just in the way you feel.
The way you feel, and the way you're, what you're thinking about, and the way you are mindful of of what you're thinking about.
And how people feel around you. That's another gauge. How do people? Can you tell that people are uplifted around you, or if they're on a downer around you? This is very important.
Very important. Very important.
How do people receive you? Do they smile when they come into your space, or do they start complaining when they come into your space?
Are you approachable, or do people avoid you?
Yes, absolutely. But more than anything, what do people speak about when they're in your space? If all of a sudden people start speaking about sickness and how much money they don't have and how much love they don't have,
you know, that's really important.
That means that you're standing in a
talk about around you.
That's a conversation in that frequency. When people are speaking and they're happy and they're alive and they're in, not the circumstances. This is not circumstantial. Gratitude is a condition a child has. A child doesn't have a new car. A child doesn't have a good job or a relationship. But a child is generally, if they're comfortable and fed, they are smiling, running, and hugging.
Great.
That's a high frequency, and everybody likes to be around children because of that.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say, everybody likes to be around children. Everybody likes to be in the spirit, in the vibration, in the field of that energy that children are so refreshing, and it's like the miracle itself presencing itself. Now I have another question that somebody is asked about giving. They say, when I think of giving, I think of tithing. What are other ways or manners of giving?
Oh, you can give. You can just by it's so interesting. You don't have to do anything to be given. All you have to do is when you could be walking down the street and you could see a person, instead of judging them, see them as the image and likeness of the divine. You are giving, and that giving will be returned to you. You don't have to go into your pocket to give. You go into your heart to give. It's how you see things, whether you're giving. It's like we give, stars give by singing a song. Mm-hmm. Just by singing a song. I mean, there's so many ways to give, but tithing, that's another thing that can be, but does not necessarily have to be given. If you feel that you're under an obligation to tithe, and you do it with a heavy heart, that's not giving. Giving is not tied to your hands. Giving is tied to your heart.
Yeah, and the other thing I'd like you to talk about is that, and we only got about 5 minutes, but I know you can do this. Giving to get versus
giving. It's not giving. See, giving to get is not giving. That's why I'm saying, people, even if you're giving a tithe to get some kind of dispensation in heaven, that's not giving. You might as well save your money. It doesn't register as giving. Giving is from the heart, and you know that when you're choosing to uplift the space, it is giving. I don't care if you're at a party and it's dull and people are on the wall and you get out in the middle of the floor and start dancing, you are giving. And everybody in that room will feel the results of that gift and multiply it.
Yes, I got a message this morning from someone I had not seen in maybe 10 years. Mm-hmm. And he was in the Rotary Club. Mm-hmm. And is now become the Rotarian of the Year because he's mentoring a lot of these youngsters who would never have seen the opportunities and possibilities that are available to them like he was. So he is just taken to heart some of these youngsters and wanting to show them a possibility. Now, he didn't do that for recognition or reward. He did it because he's interested and cares. And
okay, let me slip in here really quickly, because it is possible for people to think that they're giving when what they're doing is seeing breakdown and wanting to address it and wanting to fix it. That turns out not to be giving. That's a tricky thing. You see, when you see something as broken and think that it's your obligation or responsibility to fix it, that is contributing to the breakdown. It is not giving. But I'm not saying that about your friend. It sounds like your friend is legitimate, but I want everybody to understand that hands and feet have nothing to do with giving. If you can see that you have a lot and you want to share it, and a genuine want to share it, not fix it or manipulate it in any way, but you have a lot. It sounds like your friend has a lot to give, and he's choosing to give it, which is very different from people who see somebody homeless and think that they need fixing, and then they start fixing it. And
that is so awesome what you're saying. That is so awesome what you're saying, because I know a lot of the people go out and find the homeless and find people who are broken and give them tokens of things or tokens of love or feed them. It's not a bad thing to do, but it is not the same as giving to give, rather than
it's not the same thing as seeing them whole, perfect, and complete, even when they think they're not. That's the biggest gift of all, and that is the definition of charity back in ancient times, is to see a person as whole, perfect, and complete, even when they don't see themselves that way. That is the biggest gift. Not the in the pocket, but from heart to heart, I see you, I am here.
Yes. And the last question, and I know we're running out of time, but I got to throw it in here because somebody's asked. Can you say something about the law of rhythm?
Absolutely. Day and night, masculine and feminine, up and down. It simply means that for every day there has to be a night. You have to have one, you have to go from one end of the pole to the other end of the pole, and it swings constantly. The idea is when it's raining or when the sun is shining, can you maintain your state of gratitude? When it's pitch black or bright light, can you maintain your level of gratitude? Are you sad when it's nighttime or when it's wintertime, and happy when it's daytime and summertime? You've got to be happy. You've got to be fine. You've got to be whole, no matter what, because the swing is going to happen.
The pendulum swing to the right is equal to the swing to the left.
And it's going to for every 12 o'clock noon, you're going to have a 12 o'clock midnight. Yeah. For every time that you incarnate as a male, you're going to have to incarnate as a female. You cannot, and there are people who want us to stay on one pole. You can't do it. The law of rhythm.
That's like being scarce and wanting to hold and control. It's not recognizing the seasons and the rhythm of life, the seasons of life, and like the pulse. You breathe in, you breathe out. It's like all of this is called life, the pulsation of life, the vibration and pulsation of life itself. So I want to thank you, Dr. Aziz.
And I want to thank you, Dr. Blanchard.
I want to have another session with you. Now, we haven't gotten to go through everything.
Okay, but we will.
We will. And I want to invite our friends to go through more of the laws with Dr. Aziz, the Mastering the Game of Life. And you can do that by going to the circlesoflight.net or ACIMEgypt.com. Or you can go to our oneandall.com, our spiritual hub, where we're all involved, and you'll find all of us there, and you'll find a lot more of her podcasts and all of the work that we're doing. So thank you so much, Aziz. Thank you, everybody, for listening.
Really quickly, ACIMEgypt.com has the laws and the discussions about the laws. So do visit that site.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Aziz. Thank you, everybody, and have a great night, everyone. And we will see you on the rebound. See you on the next one. Bye-bye now.